Okay, there's two types of ceilings that I forgot entirely. So let's go through them. They're not type of ceilings. You know the ceilings. It's just that we could give an extra level of detail and complexity. So let's go to the atrium actually. I'm going to place a ceiling in the mezzanine, underneath the mezzanine in the second floor. So for that, we need to go to the reverse ceiling plan of the first floor. There we go. Second floor. We see the beams now, and when you start copying all the ceilings here, you will see the ceilings. Oh, sorry, I mean the structural plans, not in the. There you go. You see the columns, etc. So first floor ceiling. You can create a ceiling and sketch it, okay? And you can start sketching around to create any type of ceiling you want instead of having a automatic calculation. Because I don't have any partition underneath the mezzanine here, I actually have to draw it myself. So I'm going to go around to create this ceiling against the wall there, here. Okay, I'm going to say actually 10 feet as well. Say OK. I'm going to actually do a type of gypsum wall board for that one, and I'm going to go to the section to see how that looks. Thin lines. As you can see, that's the ceiling, and it's properly set. Here's the classic problem that we had before that I want to solve it now. Is that we do have the railing on top, we have the floor, we have the structure, and we have the ceiling with the column continuing. Everything seems to be good. Now, thin lines again. We see the interior, the guts of the project, what is behind the ceiling. Now, if I actually do a camera, let me do a camera from the first floor atrium. There's something definitely incomplete about this ceiling here in relation to the floor slabs and the beams. We need, let's call it a partition between the ceiling to the floor, tapping this or enclosing that, more of a space that should be hidden. So we need to go and think about how we proposed. I'm control tabbing now the infinite views that I have. I'm going to close everything. We need to somehow close this area with a partition. So to do that, we actually need to create a partition itself. So what I'm going to do is go to the first floor composite, the plan. I'm going to do a wall. I'm going to search for the type of wall that is one-sided that we did for the lab, one side. And actually I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it one-sided, but let's call it like something like ceiling or detail. Okay. Say OK. And we're going to go from the first floor to the second floor, and we're going to draw on top. By the way, for some reason I have the underlay, but it really doesn't matter. I'm going to go around this, at least. Around here as well. And close. Obviously, if I go to my camera, the one I did last, this is not solving entirely the problem. No? Obviously, this is the partition, and this is covering from the bottom to the top. We only want to stay here. No? So here's where we have to do a little bit of sectional work. So what I would do is go to my section. This is the partition that goes all the way. And we can actually very well just start changing this one by one with no problem. If I go to thin line, by the way, we start seeing more in detail how good or bad things are solved. This is the partition, this is the gypsum board, these two lines, and this is the ceiling that comes to this point. So I can even select the partition and move this so it's actually more in detail. The gypsum boards comes in front of the wall of the floor slab, which is then it becomes a perfect type of detail there. Now here's the problem: the metal stud, it's going also through the slab and through this other metal stud. So there are several ways of solving this, and one of them could be edit the type, edit, go into the section in the bottom, modify, and select elements that we can unlock. That would allow us for this layer to vary differently from the other layer. We can do that in the top as well. Let's just say OK here, edit again, go to the top, modify, select, unlock. We say OK again, and then suddenly when I select the partition I have two arrows, not just one, that I can change each of them independently. So the metal stud could stay underneath the slab versus the gypsum board can continue. And the same here. That would be actually the perfect detail. I will understand if some of you are having issues with getting to that level of detail, but this would be the only way for that camera view to solve that connection perfectly. Now you see this is becoming now another issue to solve. So again, we go to the plan. I will probably propose going to this other section and solving, where are we? Here, this connection the same way. No? Let's go to find view. We move from here to that point, so the gypsum board is exactly, and we need to start moving these layers if we want to, obviously. To the top. By the way, this is an issue. If you move the second layer, it moves the other one as well, so you probably want to move first one. Take it to where you want it exactly, and then move the other one afterwards. Sorry, that would be up here. And the same up here, you just shift that layer, this is the metal stud, to where it corresponds. If I go now to the camera, this starts looking like a perfect detail. I'm going to go again to the plan and place another camera, because I'm going to deal with the ceiling here. So I'm going to say camera. From the first floor plan, I'm going to place a camera here. And I'm going to expand this so we start getting a little more interesting perspective of the interior. Okay, last ceiling I want to achieve is actually a crazy ceiling, we're going to call it, inside of the atrium. So the crazy ceiling is just with slopes, the same things that we've been doing till now. I'm going to go actually to the third floor. I'm going to get rid of the underlay because it just bothers me. None. Actually, even second floor, it's better. And I'm going to say ceiling, and I'm going to do a sketch ceiling. I'm going to do a couple of them that have different angles. You will see how that works. I'm going to, again, you're free to do a little bit of, whatever you consider best. And, last semester I was working with curves. Now I'm just going to do more lines, but again, you're welcome to do your own style. So here's the thing, I could say yes, and I will have a ceiling in the second floor. If I go to the camera view, I think it's open, no? WT. This monster, it's placed up there, no? So it's flat, and I want to give it a slope. So there's an ingredient in Revit that allows you to put slopes into this type of element, ceilings, floors, and many other elements. So let's go back to the reverse ceiling plan of the third floor, I think it was. Second floor. There's the monster. I tap to select it, edit boundary, and if you're creating the boundary, even before saying OK, you can say slope arrow. This happens for floors as well. If you want to do a ramp or any other type of element, you can say slope arrow and draw an arrow between one side or another. I could have drawn it in any other way, What this arrow allows escaped ones is that if you select it, you can give a height to the front of the arrow, which is called head, and the tail of the arrow. So that will give you that angle that we are hoping to achieve. So you can say, for example, that the level of the tail is, for example, level 1, and the level at the head be level 3. Say OK. Now I'm going to go to the 3D, turn on the section box, and this is the monster we're doing now. Obviously we don't enter there, so probably you want to select that and move entirely the level to the 3rd floor. And you can edit the boundary, select the arrow from the 3D view, and say, well, let's have this actually 2nd floor, and the top of the head being 4th floor. Let's see if that works. Or actually bottom of truss atrium. Okay. And then obviously that's not going to work because people are going to hit themselves against that. So what you can do is actually place 2 arrows facing each other, or you can just edit the boundary and question the boundaries here, just deleting these elements and completing the line here. You can also change that arrow. Say OK. Okay. That's obviously changing at the same time. By the way, if you have like this moment where they're touching each other, you can again select edit boundaries, select that arrow, and just offset slightly the head, no? Like -1 feet. Okay, and that comes down that feet that probably is needed for this to be perfectly organized. Okay, you can go again to the ceiling plan 2nd floor and create another ceiling and create another monster on the other direction, for example. I don't know, let's say here. And again, slope arrow, I'm going to do the opposite, the inverse direction. I'm going to say that the arrow top head is going to be, in this case, bottom of truss atrium, and level head is going to be bottom of truss atrium, and the tail is going to be 2nd floor. Apply, OK, and let's see if we're doing something too crazy or not. So not necessarily. I think we can probably offset this down a little bit. I'm going to tab until I select the ceiling, edit boundary, select the arrow, and just offset the head down -1 feet. Again, you can do more like multiple circles like we did other semester, whatever you want. As long as it has slope, I will be happy to see those slopes occurring. Okay, that's obviously affecting the camera view. That I think looks quite compelling. Now obviously you can embed with no problem lights here, so you just go to the ceiling view, reverse ceiling, 3rd floor or 2nd floor, place components and search for the lighting. If we have any lighting, let me see where they are. Yeah, and then start placing there the lightings in each of those squares. Okay. Good. So again, you can do like multiple kind of circles or something, but I think feeling free to break the rules a bit and try the idea of the slope within your ceilings. It doesn't have to be thoughtful, it has to be experimental, and just experiment with slopes so you have fun with that, okay?